Funny. It's so funny. When the stuff that you learn, you have to unlearn. That's what it is. The stuff them where you learn. The stuff them where you learn. Are we on? We there? People, we there, we there, we there. Welcome to the second, people. Keep on saying, eventually people are gonna catch on to you have to repeat the same stuff over, just like how you have to unlearn the stuff them where you learn. The same way you have to keep on repeating the new stuff them until people catch on to the new stuff them. Okay, people? So today we're on the topic of people who inspire us, right? The people that we inspire with if we do better within ourselves. So I'm gonna change the date of February and I give it. Yesterday was the first and today the second. So I'm just gonna go and label. See when I do the video them, I'm gonna do the label so whoever can follow and understand. And then they can go back to the information and see where I actually started and what I'm talking about. So yesterday I talk about Abraham Theodore. That's with the, and again people may not an English major, so some things I'm gonna have to say repeatedly for me to learn about, right? So today is Thomas Sankara. Oh, I say the people them where I like to highlight are the people them where set a certain standard in life. Them set a certain example. Them have certain way of livity. So when I highlight these people, many people is gonna have different views, because again people have positive and negative views on everything and everybody. Them are have the people them who see the truth and accept the truth, and then there's people who's gonna see the truth and say a lie, right? So today I choose Thomas Isidore Noel Sankara. Alright, so them have a video. Again, I tell you I'm gonna do detail on these stuff, right? Because all of them things here, it's worth listening to, it's worth watching. Alright, so and you see the thing about it is he was in Burkina Faso before Abraham Theodore. So let me read some of it now. Born December 1949 October 15. You see, them assassinate him before him finished. Well, he was a young man, so it's not like say if he wasn't assassinated him, he wouldn't have a long life ahead of him. Okay, so was a Burkina military officer, Marxist, revolutionary, and Pan-Africanist who became president of Burkina Faso from 1983 when he took over in a coup until his assassination in 1987. After being appointed prime minister in 1983, disputes with the sitting government led to Sankor's eventual imprisonment. While he was under house arrest, a group of revolutionaries seized power on his behalf in a popular supported coup later that year. At the age of 33, you see this man did young too. Sankara became the president of the Republic of Upper Volta and launched an unprecedented series of social, ecological, and economic reforms. In 1984, Sankara oversaw the renaming of the country to Burkina Faso, land of incorruptible people. That's a lot right there. Just saying. And personally wrote its national anthem. Personally write that, you know. The renaming lead to its people being called Burkinabe, upright people. Oh, I say, yo, those were some powerful things right there. So his foreign policy was centered on anti-imperialism, and he rejected loans and capital from organizations such as the International Monetary Fund. And you see, that are the thing, you know, IMF. That thing that are one of the most detrimental thing to every country, because we get money from them people. There's stipulation, and if you don't follow the stipulation, right, them will sanctions and them do all kind of things against the people them. So me just said the International Monetary Fund, I forgot do a thing on that there too. However, he welcomed some foreign aid in an effort to boost the domestic economy. And that may I try to show you how important it is for the domestic economy. Diversify the sources of assistance and make Burkina Faso self-sufficient. And that are the key thing, you know, people. His domestic policies include famine prevention, agrarian expansion, land reform, and suspending rural poll taxes, as well as a nationwide literacy campaign and vaccination program to reduce meningitis, yellow fever, and measles. But I'm tell you in time, somebody care for the people them, you know. Them do the things them, now that me say. I don't can't want the people them, ball for the people them. You know, so them people don't. Oh, them people don't care, because them people are sure. Say, them guarantee. The people them sure you say them not care. Them just a look upon you and say, watch a man. You no matter what you say, you no matter what you do. We not listen, we not look. Right? So from a man or woman going to power and do the necessary things them, if you make changes for the people them. So Sankora's health programs distributed millions of doses of vaccines. Millions of doses of vaccines to children across Burkina Faso. His government also focused on building schools, health centers, water reservoirs, and infrastructure projects. He combated desertification of soil by planting more than 10 million trees Socially, his government enforced the prohibition of female circumcision, forcing marriages, and polygamy. Sankara reinforced his populist image by ordering the sale of the luxury vehicles and properties owned by the government in order to reduce cost. You see the same thing this a man used to do. So this a man set the example for Abraham Theodore. He banned what he considered the luxury of air conditioning in government offices and homes of politicians. He established Cuban-inspired committees for the defense of the revolution to serve as a new foundation of society and promote popular mobilization. His popular revolutionary tribunals prosecuted public officials charged with graft, political crimes, and corruption, considering such elements of the state counter-revolutionaries. This led to criticism by Amnesty International for alleged human rights violation and such arbitrary detention of political opponents. Just them people always come in and always try to mess with what people are trying to accomplish, you know. Sankora's revolutionary programs and reform for Africa's self-reliance made him an icon to many of Africa's poverty-stricken nations, and the president remained popular with a substantial majority of his country's citizens, as well as those outside Burkina Faso. But some of his policies alienated elements of the former ruling class. Vampires them always in the bush. Vampire them always a watch. Always want to interfere. Including tribal leaders. And the government of France and its ally, the Ivory Coast. On 15th October 1987, Sankara was assassinated by troops led by Blaise Compaoré, who assumed leadership of the country shortly thereafter. Compaoré retained power until 2014 Burkina Faso uprising. In 2021 he was formally charged with and found guilty for the murder of Sankara by a military tribunal. I tell you sometimes, you know. Thomas Sankara was born Thomas Isidore Noel Sankara on 21st December 1949 in Yako, French Upper Volta, as the third of 10 children to Joseph and Margarita Sankara. His father, Joseph Sankara, a gendarme, was of Silmi-Mosi heritage, while his mother, Margarite Kinda, was of direct Mosi descent. He spent his early years in Gwawa, a town in the humid southwest to which his father was transferred as an auxiliary gendarme. What's a gendarme? A gendarme is a military force with law enforcement duties among the civilian population. The term gendarme is derived from the medieval French expression gender dame, which translates to men at arms. In France and some francophone nations, the gendarmerie is a branch of the armed forces that is responsible for internal security in part of the territory, primarily in rural areas and small towns in the case of France, with additional duties as military police for the armed forces. It was introduced to several other Western European countries during the Napoleonic conquest. Alright, so it's like a security force. So him father did a one policeman or one security personnel. As the son of one of the few African functionaries then employed by the colonial state, he enjoyed a relatively privileged position. The family lived in a brick house with the families of other gendarmes at the top of a hill overlooking the rest of Goa. Sankora attended primary school at Bobo de Loso. He applied himself seriously to his schoolwork and excelled in mathematics and French. He went to church often and impressed with his energy and eagerness to learn. Some of the priests encouraged Thomas to go on to seminary school once he finished primary school. Despite initially agreeing, he took the exam required for entry to the 6th grade in the secular educational system and passed. Thomas' decision to continue with his education at the nearest lycée Ozin Kulable, named after pre-independence nationalists. Pre-independent? Okay. Proved to be a turning point. He left his father's household to attend the lycée in Bobo de Lasso, the country's commercial center. There Sankara made close friends, including Fidel too, whom he later named a minister in his government, and Sumane Torre, who was in more advanced class. His Roman Catholic parents wanted him to become a priest. But he chose to enter in the military. The military was popular at the time, having just ousted Maurice Yamiogo, an unpopular president. Many young intellectuals viewed it as a national institution that might potentially help to discipline the inefficient and corrupt bureaucracy, counterbalance the inordinate influence of traditional chiefs, and generally help modernize the country. Acceptance into the military academy was accompanied by a scholarship. Sankora could easily afford the cost of further education otherwise. Oh, Sankora could not easily afford the cost. But I could have sworn his parents was... Again, education is always the most expensive thing out of everything else. Okay, so Sankara could not easily afford the cost of further education otherwise. He took the entrance exam and passed. He entered the military academy of Cadiago. In Ogadogu, with the Academy's first intake of 1966 at the age of 17. I tell them, brilliancy just comes from your born. You're brilliant. And then them dumb you down. You know what, go already. It's better to be done than to be smart, because it's better to access you when you're dumb. Easier to access you when you're dumb than when you know. Civic. I keep on loving the word civic, you know. I really am loving the word civic. Okay, as we continue. The training officers were taught by civilian professors in the social sciences. Adam Torre, who taught history and geography, was the academic director at the time and known for having progressive ideas. Although he did not publicly share them, he invited a few of his brightest and more political students, among them Sankora, to join formal discussions outside the classroom about imperialism, neocolonialism, socialism and communism, the Soviet and Chinese revolutions, the liberation movements in Africa, and similar topics. This was the first time Sankara systematically exposed to a revolutionary perspective on Upper Volta and the world. Aside from his academic and extracurricular political activities, Sankara also pursued his passion for music and played the guitar. In 1970, 20-year-old Sankara went for further military studies at the Military Academy of Antsirabe in Madagascar, from which he graduated as a junior officer in 1973. At the Antsirabe Academy, the range of instruction went beyond standard military subjects, which allowed Sankara to study agriculture, including how to raise crop yields and better the lives of farmers. He took up these issues in his own administration and country. During that period, he read profusely on history and military strategy, thus acquiring the concept and analytical tool that he would later use in his reinterpretation of the Burkinabe political history. So I tell you, it's so important to read, listen, and understand. I tell you, these people, them people do some great things, man. I tell you, but these are not the things where you hear highlight on a daily basis. I'm gonna tell you, if them did not get highlight on a daily basis, it would start a change. It's not an overnight thing, you know. You know, here the movement, it's not the race. It's a slow, it takes like molasses. But when I say, it takes just different thoughts to make the movement start. Knowing that we need a movement. Reach out to one person, two person. I keep on saying it, you know. We cannot change it individually, but we can change it together. But individual change is so important. Just saying, them people did great and they never have no computer and they never have no... Returning to Upper Volta in 1972, he fought in a border war between Upper Volta and Mali. By 1974, he earned fame for his performance in the conflict, but years later would renounce the fightings as useless and unjust, a reflection of his growing political consciousness. The same thing with Muhammad Ali when him say him not go fight no war because them people over there don't do him nothing. And at that me I try to show you how sometimes we get caught up in a conflict when I belong to we, and so we end up I forget about the conflicts that belong to us. Okay. He also became a popular figure in the capital of Ouagadougou. Sankara was a decent guitarist. He played in a band named Tutako Jazz and rode a bicycle. In 1976, he became commander of the Commando Training Center in Pio. During the presidency of Colonel Say Zebro, a group of young officers formed a secret organization called ROC, the best known members being Henry Zongo, Jean-Baptiste Bokori Lengani, Blaise Compaore, and Sankara. This is a brother you name him there right beside him the whole time, you know. Sankara was appointed Minister of Information in Zerbo's military government in September 1981. What that? 11 years? Yeah, and put in the work, Sankara differentiated himself from other government officials in many ways, such as biking to work every day instead of driving in a car. But tell us the people them just love people, and this a man in December, remember I know this man is December, so this is a Mr. Gold. Precious. The man just moved. Him just move one away. While his predecessors censored journalists, and newspaper, Sankara encouraged investigative journalism and allowed the media to print whatever it found. This led to publications of government scandals by other privately owned and state-owned newspapers. He resigned on 12 April 1982 in opposition to what he saw as the regime's anti-labor drift, declaring misfortune to those who gagged the people. After another coup, 7 November 1982, brought to power Major Dr. Jean-Baptiste Oderago, Sankara became Prime Minister in January 1983. Ooh, white man. But he was dismissed a few months later on 17th of May. During those 4 months, Sankara pushed Cordago regime for more progressive reforms. Sankara was arrested after the French president's African Affairs advisor Guy Penne met with Colonel Yorissom, Henry Zongo, Jean-Baptiste Bokyari, Lingani were also placed under arrest. The decision to arrest Sankara proved to be very unpopular with the young officers in the military regime. His imprisonment created enough momentum for his friend Blaise Compaoré to lead another coup. So I'm bridging this again. A coup d'état organized Blaise Compaoré made Sankara president on the 4th of August just this month, 1983, at the age of 33. The coup d'état was supported by Libya, which was at the time on the verge of war with France in Chad. Ooh, gotta see that. Sankara identifies as a revolutionary who was inspired by the examples of Cuba, Fidel Castro, and Che Guevara. I know him. Obviously, everybody know. Well, not everybody know Fidel Castro, but he was one of the leaders them that went against the U.S. Look, there's so much good information, but I love it. But again, we will focus on. Yeah, we have to stay on topic, right? Okay. And Ghana's military leader Jerry Rawlings. As president, he promoted the democratic and popular revolution. The ideology of revolution was defined by Sankara as anti-imperialist in a speech on 2nd October 1983, The Discord D'Orientation Politique, written by his close associate Valeria Somme. His policy was oriented toward fighting corruption and promoting reforestation. On 4th August 1984, the first anniversary of his accession, he renamed the country Burkina Faso, meaning the land of upright people, in Moor and Doula. The two major languages of the country. See? Moor. He also gave it a new flag and wrote a new national anthem. Yo, me tell you, said the man was a leader. When Sankara assumed power on 4th of August, he named the leadership of the country the Council of the Revolution. This was a way for Sankara to signal that he was going to try for political and social change. The CNR composed of both civilians and soldiers, all ordinary people. But me don't know where you're going to find. Yeah, we're all ordinary people. Just because them rich, them don't make them just a rich, ordinary people. Doesn't really make them better than you. They voted on suggestions from the government officials. Okay, regular people, ordinary people. But the member count was secret for security reasons and known only to Sankara and others in his inner circle. The CNR regularly met to talk about important plans and decisions for the country. They helped give advice and direction to the government's action. They voted on suggestions and decisions from government officials. The decision making was collective. On some occasion, they overruled even proposals favored personally by Sankara. Sankora's first priorities after taking office were feeding, housing, and providing medical care to his people who desperately needed it. He launched a mass vaccination program aimed at eradicating polio, meningitis, and measles from 1983 to 1985. 2 million Burkinabe were vaccinated, significantly improving public health outcomes. Prior to Sankora's presidency, the infant mortality rate in Burkina Faso was about 20.8%. During his time in office, it fell to 14.5%, highlighting the effectiveness of his health initiative. His administration is also the first African government to publicly recognize the AIDS epidemic as a major threat to Africa, showcasing his forward-thinking approach to public health. In addition to healthcare, Sankora focused on large-scale housing and infrastructure projects. He established brick factories to help build houses and reduce urban slums. This initiative provided affordable housing and created jobs. It's not like saying can't create jobs, because if you build, you're going to need people to build. Anything what you do, you're going to need the people them. You're going to need workers, employees. So if you say the economy now grow, then start building stuff. Create the economy. It's just, you see, the people that might think practical. It's not them are not gene. They're not space astronauts. They're not scientists of microbiology. Just saying, them not have no big title, no big degree or nothing. Them just understand that there is a better way from what is happening. That's why I say them people that I'm highlighting. It's people who had their brain. These people had brains, and them utilize them brains. Affordable housing, creating jobs, contributing to economic stability. To combat deforestation, Sankara initiated People's Harvest of Forest Nurseries, supplying 7,000 village nurseries and organizing the planting of several million trees. This reforestation effort not only aimed to restore the environment but also to create sustainable agricultural practices. That may I try to show you. I have to keep on planting, you see? I thought should have one of the biggest thing for plant. Instead of watch somebody plant and then I'm going to chop down the people them food. These initiatives demonstrated, practices. His administration connected all regions of the country through an extensive road and rail building program. Over 700 kilometers, 430 miles of rail was laid by Burkinabe people. That's work right there. So facilitating manganese extraction in the battle of the rails without any foreign aid or outside money. These initiatives demonstrated his belief that African countries could achieve prosperity without foreign assistance. Sankara also prioritized education to combat the country's 90% illiteracy rate. 90% illiteracy rate. His administration implemented successful education programs, result in significant improvements in literacy. After his assassination, teachers' strike and the new regime's unwillingness to negotiate led to the creation of revolutionary teachers. In 1996, nearly 2,500 teachers were fired due to a strike, prompting the government to invite anyone with a college degree to teach through the Revolutionary Teachers Program. Volunteers receive a 10-day training course before starting to teach. So they fired 2,500 people. Agriculture. In the 1980s, more than 90% of the populace were still agrarian farmers. Less than 6% of land that could be irrigated was receiving irrigation, while the rest relied on rain, which was highly unreliable and inadequate. Only 10% of the population had animals for plowing, while the rest relied on individual use of short hoes to plow. Few livestock herders had access to fodder. They had to roam the countryside in search of grazing land and watering spot. Because of this, hunger remained prevalent in years of drought. The rural population was threatened by famine. In Sankora's 5-year plan, some 71% of projected investment for the productive sectors were allocated to agriculture, livestock, fishing, wildlife. The same thing that Abraham Theodore has come and implemented into. So him pick up exactly where this man. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. So this right where them assassinate this man, and I tell you, say great ideas can't die, you know. And people die left great ideas. And so is the case right here. I tell you, say the people that when we want to highlight for the whole month are some superhero. We're supposed to have them people upon t-shirt to promote them people, but again, the things that matter to us don't really matter to us. I say I am doing this because I know certain things that is necessary. These are the things we're supposed to do. We're supposed to document and create our own content of positivity and I feed it in the algorithm. Wildlife and forest, livestock, fishing, wildlife and forest. In 3 years, 25% more land was irrigated because of volunteer projects. In Soro Valley, a dam was built within a few months. That may I try to show you. One of my things is there's supposed to be a dam in every parish. That me say, what me can't do like that? If these people can't do them things here in the times of bless. How comes when we have more, we have so much more now, it can't be done? This is what I say sometimes it's so depressing, listen to people talk, knowing that there was greatness before. But people with defeatist mentality, them take away from the people them who want to create. A dam was built within a few months, almost entirely by volunteer labor. The use of fertilizer increased by 56%. Hundreds of tractors were bought and imported for large-scale cooperative projects. Hundreds of village cereal banks were built through collective labor organized by the CDRs to help farmers store and market their crops. In the past, farmers had no way to store surplus grains and had to sell them to local merchants who would sell the same crop back to the same village for twice the cost. I'm not telling you, you know. It's because we don't care. We don't care enough to learn, understand, and grow. We don't care. That me I said the biggest problem, we don't care. We say we do. Of course we say we care because it's easier said than done. In August 1984, all the land was nationalized, which means the people them supposed to get people them live upon the land is supposed to be it's not supposed to be crown land. Previously, local chiefs had decided who could farm in some areas. Private land ownership had begun to arise. The same thing. The total cereal production rose by 75% between 1983 and 1986. In 4 years, UN analysts declare Burkina agriculture as productive enough to be food self-sufficient. So me talk about that's why I say, how can Jamaica be such an island and the people them have food problem? Look how expensive yam is a foreign. Yam is so expensive. Almost $9 a pound for yellow yam. And then not have a yellow yam farm at Jamaica where then just plant yellow yam. Just right through the year. Jeez. I say, yo. That's why sometimes I say my own country depress me. Because with the ability what we have, the genius, the genius, everything, the same way I talk about these great people, this is how we're supposed to, every day we're supposed to have a hero at Jamaica where I highlight somebody where I do some ecological thing, some production, some creativity. Tell you say look how short the man. Why? In 1980, when ecological awareness was still very low, Thomas Sankara was one of the few leaders to consider environmental protection as a priority. He engaged in 3 major battles against the bushfires, which will be considered as crime and will be punished as such against cattle roaming, which infringes on the rights of people because unattended animals destroy nature, and against the chaotic cutting of firewood, whose profession will have to be organized and regulated. Tell us, oh, them people are so smart, brother. Oh, them people are so smart, brother. As part of a development program involving a large part of the population, 10 million trees were planted in Burkina Faso in 15 months during the revolution. And I don't call it revolution, it's an evolution, because you have to grow out of what you are into and grow into something new. So it's an evolution. That's why I say we are humans, but we can't get to the being part of us just because there's limitation. To face the advancing desert and recurrent droughts, Thomas Sankara also proposed planting wooded strips of about 50 kilometers crossing the country from east to west. He thought of extending his vegetation belt to other countries. Beginning in October 1984, over the space of 15 months, Sankara's government planted 10 million trees in a campaign of reforestation. I said the man I got to work, and him not born June. Sankara said in Burkina wood is our only source of energy. We have to constantly remind every individual of his duty to maintain and regenerate nature. Plant, reap, eat, repeat. Or plant, reap, eat, share, repeat. That's why I say all of them things I have, all of them plans are set up from how long, you know. But again, one person doing it by myself. I have my video them, I put up my video them, or my plant my food them on my balcony. It's like, me not see no people are continuously. People like the videos. People ask me how to do it. I'm always willing to teach. I'm always willing to learn. Okay, so this man was protecting nature from the start. The key, we have to balance. We have to balance ourselves with growth and with nature. We can't just kill out nature. As I said, I grew up a kid, every yard had a lemon tree, a sour orange tree, a grapefruit tree, and all of them things that have seeds. But you can't all of them things that dead off and nothing no replenish. So people all name all the seed them too? No, people all name all the seed them too? So we grew up in a nature, we were always nature. River, we got a river. We got a river, go swim, and then we all catch janga. You can't name the janga them raw, we never know, so we all name sushi from a little bit. Yo, look. May I tell you, okay, so even when I little bit I see my grandfather like him strain off him boil out the fish bone them. The man boil out the fish bone them, and I see him use the cloth and him strain it. And pick out all of the bone them and all of the meat and put them back in the pot. But anytime I go to college, I see them use all them technique there. Them have the chino for strain off the bone from the sauces and all of them things there. But when I look on them things, I say, look how the things them we used to do way back then. Eh? So how me can look on the next man and look on the next man and say, him an idiot and I don't know him. Until him improve himself an idiot, everybody has the same ability as you do. That's why we say we have to respect each other. That's one of the things. Respect. Shortly after attaining power, Sankara constructed a system of courts known as the Popular Revolutionary Tribunal. The courts were created originally to try former government officials in a straightforward way so the average Burkinabe could participate in or oversee trials of enemies of the revolution. They placed defendants on trial for corruption, tax evasion, or counter-revolutionary activity. Sentences for former government officials were light and often suspended. The tribunals have been alleged to have been only show trials, held very openly with oversight from the public. According to the U.S. State Department, procedures in these trials, especially legal protections for the accused, did not conform to international standard. Defendants had to prove themselves innocent of the crimes they were charged with committing and were not allowed to be represented by counsel. So the criminal is supposed to defend them. Yo, me tell you, them people, so far, I love the program them, seriously. I forgot pick, I forgot choose who to pick. But I'm saying there's two people that want me pick so far, the people them of integrity. By counsel, not allowed to be represented by counsels. I love that. I love that part there. You're a criminal, defend yourself. And that may I try to show you. The courts were initially highly admired by the Burkinabe people, but were eventually labeled corrupt and oppressive. So-called lazy workers were tried and sentenced to work for free. Or expelled from their jobs and discriminated against. Some created their own courts to settle scores and humiliate enemies. Okay, so that kind of got too far. The Committee for the Defense of Revolution, that me tell you, so we have to treat people with dignity, right? We're formed as a mass armed organizations. The CDRs were created as a counter weight to the power of the army, as well as to promote political and social revolution. The idea of the Revolutionary Defense Committee was taken from Cuban leader Fidel Castro, whose Committee for the Defense of the Revolution had been created as a form of revolutionary vigilance. A point of contention regarding Sankora's rule is the way he handled the Mossi ethnic group. The Mossi are the largest ethnic group in Burkina Faso, and they adhere to a strict traditional hierarchical social system. Look, I like reading and I love English, but sometimes my pronunciation might be a little bit off, and you have to like say the word over a couple of times for you actually say it properly. People, I'm not perfect. At the top of the hierarchy is the Moranaba, the chief or king of the Mossi people. Sankarov viewed this arrangement as an obstacle to national unity and proceeded to demote the Masi elite. The Moro Naba was not allowed to hold courts. Local village chiefs were stripped of their executive power, which were given to the CDR. Okay, and again the man is saying, look, why do you guys need a chief when we have rules and regulations for everybody? Again, people are going to push back on that, yes. But again, it's the man's vision. It's unity. Again, you're going to have your critics in every situation, right? Women's right. Sankara had extensively worked for women's rights and declared there is no true social revolution without the liberation of women. Man has respect for that. Man has respect for that. Yes. Woman is so important in our society, but me tell you, because the people them, well, I am not gonna go into my personal view on certain things on this point because it's not my point. It's just that me love the fact that in my fight for liberation of all women, all Miss Burgundies. Improving women's status in Burkinabe society was one of Sankor's explicit goals, and his government included a large number of women, an unprecedented policy priority in West Africa. His government banned female genital mutilation, forced marriage, and polygamy, while appointing women to high governmental positions and encouraged them to work outside the home and stay in school even if pregnant. Sankara promoted contraception, and in 1986 all restrictions on contraceptions were removed. He also established a Ministry of Family Development and the Union of Burkina Women. I try to show you the changes that needs to be made. The man a step straight. Sankara recognized the challenge faced by African women when he gave his famous address to mark International Women's Day on March 8, 1987 in Ouagadougou. Sankara spoke to thousands of women, saying that the Burkinabe Revolution was establishing new social relations, which would be upsetting the relations of authority between men and women and forcing each to rethink the nature of both. This task is formidable but necessary. Jeez. It's necessary for us to grow. It's necessary for us to do better. It's necessary for us to be better. That's why I tell you, so the strength we have, that power, that drivenness, and the necessity for our greatness, you know. That's the necessity for our greatness. And that's why I said the way I grew up as a kid. I didn't have to hate nobody. I never have to, the B word people, because it wasn't necessary. That wasn't necessary. To live good was necessary. So all of them things, yeah, the necessity of life. The necessity of life. Another to pay attention to. Sure. It was necessary for us to get along. Manners respect each other. Right? It's necessary, people. It's just necessary for us to just be better people, because it's not like it's impossible, you know. You know, impossible for we live good with each other. But we just have this facade, say, somewhere, somehow, right? It makes us a bigger person. it makes us a better person. We don't know that make us a better person. But I'm saying, all of them people always set them example and how we are supposed to be living. It's amazing. It's just amazing. In addition to being the first African leader to appoint women to major cabinet position, he recruited them actively for the military. In addition to being the first African leader to appoint women to major cabinet position, the man actively recruited for the military. Following the 1974 clash between Burkina Faso and Mali over the disputed territory of the Agar Strip, the Organization of African Unity had created a mediation commission to resolve the disagreement and provide for an independent, neutral demarcation of the border. Both governments had declared that they would not use armed forces to end the dispute. But by 1983, the two countries disagreed about the work of the commission. Sankara personally disliked Malian President Moussa Théodore, who had taken power by deposing Modibo Keita's left-leaning regime. On 17 September, Sankara visited Mali and met with Théodore, an Algerian mediation. The two agreed to have the border dispute settled by the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and subsequently petitioned the body to resolve the issue. In July 1985, Burkina Faso declared the Malian Secretary General of the Economic Community of the West Africa, Drissa Keita, a person non grata, after he criticized Sankara's regime. Okay, alright. Okay, so a person non grata is a foreign diplomat who is asked by the host country to be recalled to their home country. If the person is not recalled as requested, the host state may refuse a host state may refuse to recognize the person concerned as a member of the diplomatic mission. So they might tell the man to leave the country immediately. Oh, we are telling us that even in a serious situation. Yes? In September, Sankara delivered a speech in which he called for a revolution in Mali. Malian leaders were particularly sensitive to the inflammatory rhetoric, as their country was undergoing social unrest. Around the same time, Sankara and other key figures in CNR became convinced that Théodore was harboring opposition to the Burkinabe regime in Bamako and plotting to provoke a border war, which would be used to support counter-revolution. Tensions at the border began to rise on 24 November when Burkinabe National killed another near the border in Soham province. Malian police crossed the border to arrest the murderer and also detained several members of a local committee for the defense of the revolution who were preparing a tribunal. 3 days later, Malian police entered Kouana to restore order. Burkina Faso made diplomatic representations on the incidents to Mali, but was given no formal response. Okay, you see, even Burkina Faso and Mali before them did in official, you know, and now Mali and Burkina Faso, they're partners. So over time, them work out them differences, right? I have to go in, it's because all three of them join echo. I'm telling you, there's so much information on this. Is so, I just love them things here, because you see these people, them people did, when people say them have a vision, other people can't see them vision. And them have to believe in what them a do and continue to push on in what they're doing. Right? That's why I say don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams, hope and aspiration. To the right there, to the 2nd of February, I feel right in at the bottom of the where I'm not supposed to be. Right? But I know so I not give up on myself. Somehow, somewhere I'm going to navigate through my own personal issues. And at the end of the day, I'm probably going to do a video and celebrate and say, yes, I accomplished the demons them that at the beginning of the year that I have to face. Understand? So I said, don't give up on yourself, people. It's one of the greatest things to do is not to give up on yourself. I say, the greatest thing for you not to waste is your mind. The greatest thing for you not to waste is your mind. That's why I say, I go through them people here, and them people are just, I know these people before, but knowing that the details of who they are, that's the key. So, when we do Harriet Tubman yesterday, I didn't find deep enough information on her. I said I want to reach out and find more information on her too. Because the information is here detail. Okay, so Maui and Burkina was in tussles in the early days, right? At the beginning of December, Burkina Faso informed Mali and other surrounding countries that it was conducting its decennial national consensus from 10 to 20 of December. On 14 December, military personnel entered the Agar to assist with the census. Mali accused the military authorities of pressuring Malian citizens in border villages to register with the census, a charge which Burkina Faso disputed. In an attempt to reduce tensions, ANAD, a West African treaty organization, dispatched a delegation to Bamako and Ouagadougou to mediate. I know I'm pronouncing it right. Ouagadougou. President of Algeria, Shadi Bendi, contacted Sankora and Terodor to encourage a peaceful resolution. At the request of ANAD members, Burkina Faso announced the withdrawal of all military personnel from the disputed region. So even as bad as him is, him still listen, right? Despite the declared withdrawal, a war of the communiques ensued as Burkinabe and Malian authorities exchanged hostile messages. Feeling threatened by Sankora, Theodore began preparing Mali for hostilities with Burkina Faso. Three groupments were formed and planned to invade Burkina Faso and converge on the city of Bobo Dioulasso. Once here, they would rally Burkinabe opposition forces to take Ouagadougou and overthrow Sankora. Former Sankora aide Paul Makoud wrote that Sankora had intended to provoke Mali into conflict with the aim of mobilizing a popular support for his regime, according to Makoud. An official and reliable Malian source had reported that mobilization documents dated to 19 December was found on the bodies of fallen Burkinabe soldiers during the ensuing war. Sankora's efforts to provide evidence of his bona fide were systematically undermined. It is hard to believe that the Malian authorities are unaware that the rumors circulating are false, says U.S. Ambassador Leonardo Neer. In contrast to Makoud's assertions, a Central Intelligence Agency cable states the war was born of Bamko's hope that the conflict would trigger a coup in Burkina Faso. At dawn on the 25th of December, now Christmas Day that day, December 1985, about 150 Malian army tanks crossed frontier and attacked several locations. Malian troops also attempted to envelop Bobo de Lasso in a pincer attack. The Burkina Faso army struggled to repel the offensive in the face of superior Malian firepower and overwhelmed on the northern front. Malian forces quickly secured the town of Dianago, Selba, Kouana, and Dona in the Alga. The Burkinabe's government in Ouagadougou received words of hostilities about 13 p.m., so that's 1 o'clock, and immediately issued mobilized orders. Various security measures were also imposed across the country, including nighttime blackouts. Burkinabe forces regrouped in Dananaga area to counterattack. Captain Compaore took command of his western front. Under his leadership, soldiers split into small groups and employed guerrilla tactics against Malian tanks. Immediately after hostilities began, other African leaders attempted to institute a truce. On the morning of 30 December, Burkina Faso and Mali agreed to an brokered ceasefire. By then, Mali had occupied most of Agar Strip. More than 100 Burkinabe and approximately 40 Malian soldiers and civilians were killed during the war. The Burkinabe towns of Ojonoa, Dijbo, and Najambu were left badly damaged by the fighting. At an anad summit by Yamoussoukro on the 17th of January 1987, Theodore and Sakoria met and formalized an agreement to end hostility. The ICJ later split the Agar. Mali received the more densely populated western portion and Burkina Faso the eastern section centered on the Bali River. Both countries indicated their satisfaction with the judgment. You see, and that means that even in any war there is, people can always work it out. There's always a solution to the problem, you know. But most of the time, people ignore the solution, highlight the problem, and choose to fight over the problem. The conflict also okay, so they were satisfied with the judgment. Burkina Faso declared that the war was part of an international plot to bring down Sankora's government. It rejected speculation that it was fought over rumored mineral wealth in the Agalcher. The country's relatively poor performance in the conflict damaged the domestic credibility of the CNR. Some Burkinabe soldiers were angered by Sankora's failures to prosecute the war more aggressively and rally a counter-offensive against Mali. So some people, they don't want blood, them just don't want to continue with the war. The conflict also demonstrated the country's weak international position, forcing the CNR to craft a more moderate image of its policies and goals abroad. In the aftermath, the Burkinabe government made little reference to supporting revolution in other countries, and its relations with France modestly improved. At a rally held after the war, Sankora considered that his country's military was not adequately armed and announced the commutations of sentences for numerous political prisoners. I think he's just gonna let's let him time serve. Thomas Sankara defined his program as anti-imperialist. In his respect, France became the main target of revolutionary rhetoric. When President Francisco Mitterrand visited Burkina Faso in November 1986, Sankara criticized the French for having received Peter Botha, the Prime Minister of South Africa, which still enforced apartheid, and Johannes Savimbi, the leader of UNITA in France, referring to both men as covered in blood from head to toe. In response, France reduced its economic aid to Burkina Faso by 80% between 1983 and 1985. Guy Penne, President Mitterrand's advisor on African affairs, organized a media campaign in France to denigrate Thomas Sankara in collaboration with the DGSE. It provided the press with a series of documents on supposed atrocities intended to feed articles against him. Sankara set up a program of cooperation with Cuba after meeting with Fidel Castro. Sankara arranged to send young Burkinabés to Cuba in September 1986 to receive professional training and to participate in the country's development upon their return. These were volunteers recruited on the basis of a competition. Priority was given to orphans and young people from rural and disadvantaged. You see? Them take up the people them when need it. At that match I show you. If them did have all a program with them kids that we can't afford it, that makes them have. I don't understand how them not have like junior military and them things they set up to help the young kids and young girls them. I tell you it's like I tell you it's crazy. Say them people can come up with genius ideas and them people who are genius can come up with no ideas. It's crazy. And that's why I say, if them people don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. They don't have, no matter how much you say, oh, well, oh, no, this, no, they don't have to do it because they don't want to do it. So you have to find like-minded people to solve the issues. Like-minded people, you know. Again, we're not perfect. Let's put that out there. Every day. We're not perfect. But at least we can find like-minded people. Because our like-minded people not perfect. I look at it and saying, I love solutions. Right? Since we're problem solvers. We're solution driven. We are problem solvers. So that's what we're supposed to be doing, looking to solve problems. Okay, so you see, these were volunteers recruited on the basis of a competition. Priority was given to orphans and young people from rural and disadvantaged areas. Some 600 teenagers were flown to Cuba to complete their school and receive professional training to become doctors, particularly gynecologists, engineers, or agronomists. You see? Me no see no dancehall, me no see no artist, me no see no entertainer yaso. I only see professional training, right, to become great. And that me love, right there, so. The man who's a visionist, the man see way ahead of where people. You see? When people them have a idea how things is supposed to be, and then go out and then create plans and implement the plans them. So I'm say them people are winners. This is how winners go about winning. Denouncing the support of the United States to Israel and South Africa, he called on African countries to boycott the 1984 Summer Olympic in Los Angeles. At the United Nations General Assembly, he denounced the invasion of Grenada by the United States. The latter nation responded by implementing trade sanctions against Burkina Faso. Also, the UN Sankara called for an end to the veto power granted to the great powers in the name of the right of people to sovereignty. He supported the national demands of the Western Sahara Palestinians, the Nicaraguan Sandinistas, and the South African ANC. The ANC, I think the ANC was African National Congress, is a political party in the South Africa. It originated as a liberation movement known for its opposition to apartheid, and has governed the country since 1984, when the first post-apartheid election resulted in Nelson Mandela being elected. That me say, wait, the ANC is not Nelson Mandela? And see, automatically the information is there. Or I remember the association with Nelson Mandela, which he had good relations with Ghanaian leader Jerry Rawlings and Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. Sankara was relatively isolated in West Africa. Leaders close to France, such as Houphouët Boigny in Cote d'Ivoire and Hassan II in Morocco, were particularly hostile to him. Criticism. Obviously, I told you about the critics. The critics are always gonna be there. The British Development Organization, Oxfam is a British founded confederation of 21 independent non-governmental organizations focusing on the alleviation of global poverty, founded in 1942 and led by Oxfam International. I forgot to do some more research on that one day. Record the arrests of trade union leaders in 1987. In 1984, 7 individuals associated with the previous regime in Burkina Faso were accused of treason and executed after a summary trial. Non-governmental organizations and unions were arrested placed under the authority of the Committee for the Defense of the Revolution, branches of which were established in each workplace and which function as organs of political and social control. 3 days after Sankara had assumed power in 1983, through the Popular Revolution, the National Union of African Teachers of Upper Volta called Sankara and his government fascist and called upon workers to be ready to fight for their freedom. As a result, the government ordered the arrest of 4 key figures of the SNEAHV. SNEAV. One was released shortly after. In response, the SNEAV called upon a national teachers' strike to protest the arrest. The government saw this as something that endangered the politically weak Upper Volta, which was already faced 5 coups since its independence. Therefore, the Minister of National Education called upon directors of private schools not to use the service of the strikers in their establishment. The call affected 13 to 1,500 teachers. Popular revolutionary tribunals set up by the government throughout the country place defendants on trial for corruptions, tax evasion, or counter-revolutionary activity. Procedures in these trials, especially legal protections for the accused, did not conform to international standards, according to Christian Morrison and Jean-Paul Azam of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. The climate of urgency and drastic action in which many punishments were carried out immediately against those who had the misfortune to be found guilty of unrevolutionary behavior bore some resemblance to what occurred in the worst days of the French Revolution during the Reign of Terror. Although few people were killed, violence was widespread. Okay, so again, people, there's things that many people wasn't happy with. For example, the people them 14 Trump in the office in 2 days, and the people them a scream and a ball already. The people them a scream and a ball, and the people them hate Trump ungodly. The people them hate Trump ungodly, I'm telling you. So you're not always gonna get what you want, and you're not always gonna want what you get. Right? Again, me say them these, even though me tell you so them try to assassinate Abraham Theodore 13 times already. What make somebody want to box up a person and them just do good? Because there's always somebody on the other side who's gonna look at it as bad. And through the whole month, I'm gonna go through detail all of the heroes that we're supposed to look at are the people them who have some inspiration on making life better for other people. Them all have critic. Them all have people who don't like them. I'm gonna tell you, say, if you try to please everybody, you're not gonna please nobody. Okay, so death. On 15th of October 1987, Sankara and 12 other officials were killed in a coup d'etat organized by his former colleague, Blaise Compaoré. See, I'm friend. Set him up. When accounting for his own overthrow, Compaoré stated that Sankara jeopardized foreign relations with former colonial power France and neighboring Ivory Coast, and accused his former comrade of plotting to assassinate opponents. Prince Johnson, a former Liberian warlord allied to Charles Taylor and killer of the Liberian president Samuel Doe, whose last hours of life were filmed, told Liberia's Truth and Reconciliation Commission that it was engineered by Charles Taylor. After the coup, and although Sankara was known to be dead, some CDRs mounted an armed resistance to the army for several days. According to Aluna Theodore, the sole survivor of Sankara's assassination, Sankara was attending a meeting with the Council de l'Ente. His assassins singled out Sankara and executed him. The assassins then shot those attending the meeting, killing 12 other people. Sankara's body was riddled with bullets to the back, and he was quickly buried in an unmarked grave while his widow, Miriam, and 2 children fled the nation. When they come for you. Compaoré immediately reversed the nationalizations, overturned nearly all of Sankara's policies, rejoined the International Monetary Fund and World Bank to bring in desperately needed funds to restore the shattered economy, and ultimately sparing most of Sankara's legacy. Compaoré's dictatorship remained in power for 27 years until it was overthrown by popular protests in 2014. You know, as much as the story is amazing, right? I love them things here because when you read about them people represent something that we're supposed to be representing. I tell you, say, and these are the things when I like dive into. When I go up on YouTube channel, when I really find information like these from the people I know nowadays. These people, when I say, if it's not sensationalism, if it's not viral, it's not important. But these things are really important. You see, me get up 3 days from February already, right? Today, I mean yesterday, today, and tomorrow, 3 days, and then actual first of the month start. So as me say, the information them just a come to me, cause me say me start out with Abraham Theodore, me end up with I end up here, right? With Mr. Sankora, right? So obviously me I go continue part 2 of this, part 2 of Abraham Tador. I'm gonna do part 2, I'm gonna indulge, because you see, I'm gonna continue indulging at in our people. Again, I tell you, I'm gonna use other people from other culture, obviously, because for culture not the only culture. Our culture is intertwined with other cultures, but other culture don't give us the credit, and we don't give ourselves the credit that we're supposed to give ourselves. If we did a big up them people here, and me just hear a message where the president say now he's gonna he's gonna accomplish the wishes of Martin Luther King of I Have a Dream. He's gonna make I Have a Dream. Look, I'm just here on this topic right now. So again, there's so much to explore this month, and trust me, this is what I'm gonna continue doing. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for the like, share, and subscribe. We're gonna stop messing around with that. Look at it. Moving the picture like I'm live. I'm not live. Well, I'm live, but the picture is not me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just moving the picture of my computer, just because I'm not there yet. Know what I mean, people? Again, if we can just, share up the things so we can get a couple more subscribers. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers, okay? Sell my merchandise, okay? See you guys later. Manners respect. Manners respect.